Pro Wrestling Weekly. For over 20 years, the revolutionary force in sports entertainment radio talk.
Is cooking.
WBCB presents Pro Wrestling Weekly,
the longest-running pro wrestling radio talk show in the history of terrestrial radio.
And he's obviously Michael Cole.
Call in with a question or comment at 215-949-3232.
You really do sound like a
grizzled old vet. Is that where you were going with there?
Yes.
To not get you in trouble?
Oh, I'll get in trouble at some point. Believe me, I'll do something.
Well, to keep you out of trouble in this case, at least.
And now, here are your hosts of Pro Wrestling Weekly, Fearon Derry and Lucas DeSangro.
Ooh, I'm getting good at this radio thing.
Yeah! It only took you 5.5 years.
I'm not good at it yet. I'm starting to.
Yeah.
Only slightly.
Slowest escalator upward.
Shut up!
There's the sound of the bell, and we are set to go. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, flying solo, I believe, as I've heard neither hide nor hair of Twitch, so I'm not sure where he's at, what he's doing, and why he's not here. Usually he at least says, hey, I'm going to be at such and such a show, but no example of that, so not sure what's going on. At least in terms of that. Plenty going on otherwise here as we've got pay-per-views coming up over the course of the next week, including, we'll talk about the Saudi Super Showdown thing going on as we'll go over that lineup for this coming Thursday. Plus, we were a week away from AEW Revolution, and not too long after that, we've got Elimination Chamber here in the Philadelphia area. Although there hasn't exactly been a lot of promotion or setup for it because all the eggs have been kind of pushed into the Saudi basket. So we'll get a kind of last-minute thrown-together pay-per-view for the 10 days leading up to Elimination Chamber, and that's probably why the tickets haven't exactly been great as far as the sales have gone. In fact, I'd gotten an email. I think it was earlier this week from the Wells Fargo Center. It was I'm trying to get these specifics on it as we speak here, but I think it was something along the lines of, get 4 WWE tickets for the price of 3. They're running at least they were doing it as a President's Day special, a Me Plus 3 offer, and that was, well, actually that is still in effect through 10 p.m. tonight, so at least that is a possibility. It doesn't give I was hoping it would have some sort of a code or something as I could throw that out there, but doesn't appear to be the case. I think that's just a mailing list type thing possibly here. But, yep, they are on sale as cheap as $25 and as expensive as $500. So we'll see. Part of the issue, though, the Wells Fargo Center website has more matches listed for Elimination Chamber than WWE officially does, and I think that's because they're waiting until after Super Showdown to announce them. But, we'll get into that. They have more matches announced for WrestleMania already than they do for the Elimination Chamber lineups. That kind of shows where things fall in the proverbial pecking order. So, that being said, we'll save that Showdown thing for a little bit later because that's not up on our pecking order here. So, couple of good tidbits here. It was announced last night on SmackDown that joining the New World Order and Batista in the 2020 WWE Hall of Fame, I guess it's about time they kind of got that whole thing started. Because, again, we're not as far away as you would think from that whole crazy weekend here. Actually, you'd think I would know this off the top of my head, but no, we are 6 weeks away from WrestleMania. So, it almost feels like a college cram session before a major exam, but nonetheless, we're finally getting some things leaked out here, and joining the New World Order and Batista in the 2020 Hall of Fame, Nikki and Brie Bella, the Bella Twins. So I guess that'll take care of the usual female quota for that, as don't know. There are definitely a lot of deserving names, and they are as well, but you know how it is. There's always going to be that complaint of, oh, this person was snubbed, this person should have gone in, and this person shouldn't have been in, some people will say. But, it's all part of it. But one person who's definitely been on that probably should be in list and may finally get in, although this is reported by good old Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, so take with it what you will. It's not an official WWE announcement, but he's usually very good, highly respected, but there's also a lot of critics of him. A name that wasn't officially announced by WWE, but reported by Meltzer, Davey Boy Smith. Yes, the British Bulldog being reported as in, but not confirmed by WWE as of yet. And if I recall correctly, he was pretty up there in that not in the Hall of Fame thing that we'd gone over a couple of years ago. And I'm quickly working on bringing it up here to see who's in there. So yeah, the Bella Twins are in. Not that they were necessarily out of it here, but let's see. Where in the mix was the British Bulldog? Was he even in the top 20? Yes, he was number 10 overall, or still is number 10 in the not in the Hall of Fame listing here. Now, Dave Bautista was listed as 9, and he's going to be going in. So there's a couple that are up there as well that we won't quite see for a while. Some maybe not ever, as looking at the rest of that list. Ivan Koloff is omitted from there. He's number 4. The Rock, Undertaker, and Vince McMahon, they're still around, so they'll probably save that when there's a really light year. A name that probably won't be in for a very long time, if ever, now that he is Le Champion over in AEW. Chris Jericho's listed on there, as is Kane, and a name that, never say never, but this one's pretty close to never, Owen Hart. Yeah, that whole controversy. We've kind of gone over that quite a bit, but that pretty much Martha Hart's not allowing that, his widowed wife, after the way that he had passed. The Big Show also listed on there, so I don't know. It would definitely be a good ad for the posthumous entry of Davey Boy Smith, although the posthumous entries are there's a pretty good line for them. But actually, looking at it, looking at the latest list here, because it has been a little while since I've been to it. There's not nearly as many. I mean, looking at the top 20, another team that's certainly deserving, but again, there's the Hall of Fame is in Vince McMahon's mind, so if he has an issue with you, you're not getting in anytime soon. Axe and Smash of Demolition. But since we already have the Bella Twins and we have the faction, the NWO, I don't think they're going in as a team this year. It'd be nice to see the model Rick Martel make his way in. He was a little underrated. He was always very, very solid and held some mid-card titles, some tag titles. Definitely a name. I mean, not something you think of as far as a main eventer, but he was always that upper mid-card and usually had the best match of the night or pretty close to it. So a couple of different observations, and we'll get more into the Hall of Fame as we get a little bit closer. This was just something that had jumped out at me. Maybe we'll have that official announcement sometime after the whole Saudi thing. We'll certainly see. Also, we'll go to the gridiron here in the hour. We'll come up with that as we'll talk a little XFL. Also, a company that, we'll get into this now here since we did mention Le Champion. His company, AEW, issuing a press release regarding new action figures. Jazzwares, which is a global leader in play and all elite wrestling. They're the obviously new professional wrestling league taking America by storm, as you can tell this is coming from a press release. They're tag teaming on AEW's first line of action figures and role-play collectibles. Oh, if ever there was a time to have a chat with Twitch about that, as he is probably the foremost, one of the foremost experts on various action figures, or as some people call them, dolls, that are out there. I said some, not necessarily me. I'm just, Gorilla Monsoon is somebody back in the day who did. But that notwithstanding, the Champion or Le Champion, Chris Jericho, as well as Cody, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley, and more, They're featured as part of the AEW Unrivaled line, and that will be on display at Jazzware's booth at the Toy Fair New York, starting today through the 26th of February, which is this coming Wednesday, and will hit retail later this year. So interesting to see. Do you want... I don't know. Who's jonesing for more action figures? I mean, are AEW fans going to take them as collectibles? Is that a potential thing? You know, keep them in box for that gem mint condition? I don't know. Not really my thing, but I'm sure it's somebody's out there. Some other AEW news. Cody taking to Instagram and posting a photo from his steel cage match win over Wardlow. That's right, first steel cage match in AEW history. From this past Wednesday's Dynamite on TNT, noting that he suffered a small fracture in his big toe after hitting the big moonsault from the top of the cage. He said that he's on a treatment plan and cleared for action, and then AEW made a tweet stating that Cody is cleared, but, quote, for action as tolerated. Now, you have to figure that noting of the injury just put a giant bullseye on it for MJF, who is scheduled to face Cody 1 week from tonight at the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. And so far, 4 matches announced on the card, and I'm sure that with this coming week's edition of Dynamite, that the rest of the card will be fleshed out. At least, yeah, you would think so. They're not going to necessarily go the WWE route with that. At least I wouldn't. I guess we'll go ahead and get into this here as the Super Showdown thing. Actually, well, I'll mention this and have you react accordingly. But Mansoor, he spoke with ArabNews.com and confirmed that he will be wrestling this Thursday at the Saudi pay-per-view. Yeah, hands up out there if you're surprised. But if you're driving, don't put your hands up. Keep driving. Do your thing. Yeah, I know. To the surprise of nobody. He did comment, though, on no longer having the surprise factor, hilariously enough, saying, quote, "That's very true. I was very much dependent on that, and Cesaro even said, I don't know who this kid is." He went on to say, "There are no real videos of me to watch to see what I can do compared to the years that I can watch of Cesaro. I know I will be competing at Super Showdown, but I haven't found out who my opponent will be yet. But I get the feeling that now it's going to be a bit more of an even playing field where both of us are going to be able to feel each other out and see what we're going into." So there you go. So Mansoor, part of the Saudi Arabian pay-per-view, as he has been each time thus far. So I guess a way to get exposure without bringing him stateside or anything of that nature. Now, the rest of the lineup that has been announced, it looks like we have 7 other announced matchups thus far. We've got the SmackDown tag titles on the line of The New Day, Big E and Kofi Kingston against The Miz and John Morrison. Also, a steel cage match between Roman Reigns and King Corbin. We've got the SmackDown Women's title on the line, and that's making history because they're not too keen on women's women's lots of things, and we'll leave it at that before I say something to get myself in trouble. Okay, Ted's not running from out of the office, so I'm all right so far. But no, it'll be Bayley against Naomi, the first time that the SmackDown Women's Championship will be on the line at one of the Saudi pay-per-views. So there is some history to that, but we'll see how, A, it plays out with the crowd, and B, what, if any, behind-the-scenes aftermath there was, as there were a lot of rumors that there were various things that may have caused the WWE wrestlers or superstars' flight to be delayed in Saudi Arabia after the event. So, who knows? It doesn't look as though it's had too much of a negative effect on things, as they're still filling out the card, but there's always that aura of what might happen. Also in there, you've got the Tuwaiq Trophy on the line for the first time, as you've got a gauntlet match between AJ Styles, Andrade, Bobby Lashley, Eric Rowan, R-Truth, and Rusev. I guess that's a get people on the card and thank them for making the trip when others have opted not to. Also, the Raw tag titles on the line, Seth Rollins and Murphy defending against the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. And the 2 big titles, the heavyweights, The Fiend Bray Wyatt defending the Universal Championship against Goldberg. And hopefully he won't concuss himself out to the ring this time around. But that was something that Goldberg was known for, was in being so intense of smashing his head on the door. Almost kind of like a football locker room thing from yesteryear. He got himself concussed before, so we don't want that to happen again. And for the WWE Championship, the Goliath versus David matchup of Brock Lesnar against Ricochet. So we'll see how that goes. So those are just, that's all we've got for the Super Showdown. We'll see how it plays out, what drama there's going to be. Will I be talking about some other international incident to open the show next week? Time will certainly tell on that. But we've got a lot more to get into here, including looking at the other upcoming events, AEW Revolution next week, and we'll let you know the one match that was announced for Elimination Chamber, and even a look ahead at WrestleMania. Also, we'll get into some Gridiron talk, some network talk, and speaking of international incidents, a little bit of a changing of the guard over in Europe. We'll tell you about that, plus a superstar who might have some issue with WWE after making an AEW appearance, or strike that, WWE having an issue with this individual. We'll get into that and a whole bunch more. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
Philadelphia Protestant Home is a premier senior living community that offers affordable, quality, independent living, personal care, skilled nursing, and rehabilitation. PPH is located on a beautiful, serene campus within minutes of Bucks County and features a variety of on-site amenities for active lifestyles. Elegant dining services, ice cream parlor, indoor pool and wellness center, bowling alley, computer learning center, greenhouse, bank, market, and coming soon, a pharmacy. Call now to schedule a tour, 215-697-8000, or visit us on the web at pphfamily.org. At PPH, we're family.
You won't see termites crawling across your floor, but thousands might be devouring the wood in your walls, weakening the structure of your home. For over 50 years, Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley has been in the exterminating business. If you think you have a pest problem, they're the experts. Call them today at 215-639-5455. That's 215-639-5455 for TPPC. Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley gives your home or business peace of mind, knowing your pest problem is in their hands. Located at 1560 Bristol Pike in Bensalem, they use only EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley at 215-639-5455.
All commentators heard on WBCB express their own views. Their opinions are not necessarily those of others on WBCB, including the staff and management.
The Bristol Borough Community Action Group Food Bank at 99 Wood Street in Bristol has been serving Lower Bucks County since 1971. It's your monthly tax-deductible donations that allow us to provide food for hundreds of households each month. Please consider a generous one-time or recurring monthly donation at www.givebucks.org. That's www.givebucks.org. Help us help those in need. Please donate today. The Bristol Borough Community Action Group, 99 Wood Street, Bristol, PA 19007.
At St. Mary Medical Center, they're on a mission to help you live your healthiest life. Learn more about their advanced technology and innovative procedures, as well as the small steps you can take to be your healthiest self. Meet their highly trained physicians and skilled professionals. Count on St. Mary for experience, brilliant technology, and the most powerful medicine of all, simple human kindness. St. Mary Healthline every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on 1490 WBCB.
He's got the Luigi death stare from Fearon, so he might have to...
I didn't give you the Luigi death stare. That's not true.
You're breaking kayfabe.
Breaking kayfabe. Gonna break something else during this commercial.
There we go. That's what I like to see.
And now, more Pro Wrestling Weekly with your hosts, Fearon Derry and Lucas DeSangro.
Are we getting into that controversy again?
I know how it feels, and it's not fun.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, flying solo as Twitch is MIA. And haven't heard anything back from him after texting him. Maybe I'll call him during the next time out here. Not that he'll be able to come up, but just to get some sort of answer as we all wait with bated breath to see what's going on with him. because I have no idea. But what I do know about, we've got 4 matches so far announced for AEW Revolution next week. The aforementioned title match, we'll get back to that in a second. You've got Jake Hager taking on Dustin Rhodes. That one certainly should be a goodie. A lot of experience there, to say the least. And then, of course, there's Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page defending the World Tag Titles against the Young Bucks. And somewhere Jim Cornette's having a stroke, I would imagine. No, that's going to be a lot of things that he won't like about that match, I'm sure. And with the caveat of, provided that there's no physical contact between them before next Saturday, MJF taking on Cody. Although Cody kind of having that target of the fractured right big toe. So that certainly could allow for MJF to cater his offense toward that and certainly get a significant advantage. And then the World Championship, Le Champion, Chris Jericho defending against
John Moxley, 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 dinosaurs and little children.
Well, maybe not those last two, but yes, John Moxley challenging for the AEW World Championship. Had to pull that from the lexicon of Le Champion from back in December. The list of people he did not want to wrestle for the remainder of 2019. So now here it is in early 2020. He is getting Moxley, Moxley, Moxley. Yes, indeed. Also, well, here in Philadelphia, yes, the Elimination Chamber coming to Philly, WWE, on the 8th of March. That is just 2 weeks from tomorrow. And, well, only one match announced, and that is one of the Elimination Chamber matches. It's going to be to determine a number 1 contender to the Raw Women's title. And you're going to have Natalya, Liv Morgan, Shayna Baszler, Asuka, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan in that Elimination Chamber match. Now, if you check with that WWE, or rather the Wells Fargo Center website, they have other matches announced. Looks like one of which is a rematch from the Super Showdown of the New Day against The Miz and John Morrison for the SmackDown Tag Titles. Now, they also have, and again, this is coming from the Wells Fargo Center website, so sometimes they have outdated information, but this is something that was never announced otherwise, and we glossed on it last week. Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Daniel Bryan, Shinsuke Nakamura, King Corbin, and Robert Roode in an Elimination Chamber match to determine the Universal title challenger. Well, we'll see. I guess that'll be to determine who would face the Fiend Bray Wyatt should he come out of the Universal, or come out of this Super Showdown with the Universal title. Or I guess they would go after Goldberg. So, Roman Reigns against Goldberg, a Battle of the Spears. That could be rather interesting. Or Daniel Bryan and the Fiend Bray Wyatt, a rematch of that. There's quite a few intriguing possibilities if that match is even set to go. And I probably might have, well, I don't know. In looking up the pay-per-view, there was something that I thought was rather intriguing that I can't say that I might have mentioned it in the past before, but every time I see it, it's one of those, I get it, but on the same token, wow, it's interesting, is apparently over in Germany, they have a different name for the pay-per-view. They actually, they have been calling it No Escape for all the years that it's been around. I think that's because they want to avoid a brand blunder, for lack of a better term, as people would associate the Elimination Chamber with things that went on during a not as revered part of history in Germany. Back in the early 1940s or so. You can kind of put the rest of the picture there. I'm not gonna connect all the dots for you, but yeah, for that reason, in Germany they changed the name to No Escape, and I guess it makes sense. But that's just something that I kind of found funny and entertaining. Now, Germany comes up in a different realm here, as, some TV deals going on, as AEW pay-per-view events will soon replace WWE pay-per-view events on Sky Germany. Yes, Sky Deutschland announcing this week that they are parting ways with WWE and that this was a WWE decision. So apparently WWE saying Auf Wiedersehen to Sky Deutschland. The current contract between the two sides expires at the end of March, and Sky told customers while WWE will no longer be offered, they will begin offering another wrestling league to fans beginning in April, AEW. As it stands now, AEW Dynamite runs weekly on Sky every Friday at 9:50 p.m. on TNT out there in Deutschland. And Sky will begin offering AEW pay-per-view events shortly via the Sky Select service. And ProSieben Max continues to air Raw and SmackDown on free TV in Germany. And while WWE and Sky Germany originally announced their multi-year deal to air WWE pay-per-views back beginning with the Survivor Series 2016, back on November 16th of that year, and to start airing Raw and SmackDown on Sky Sports the following April. So that deal looks to have ended, and WWE opting not to renew, so tschüss, apparently, and off to something else. Choose another way of saying goodbye. I've been studying up on my German. I've got the little Duolingo thing going on, so it's good to get a little bit of practice in here. So ProSieben Max, that's Pro 7 Max, I guess Channel 7 out there in Germany. Getting all kinds of international here. In fact, we're going to go from Europe to Asia with this next story, as WWE is expected to launch their Japan Performance Center soon. That's right, the announcement of the new WWE Performance Center in Japan expected to come in the next few months, possibly around the summertime if everything goes as expected, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Now, WWE returns to Osaka and Yokohama in July for 3 live events, so it might be possible the announcement coincides with that tour, so that'll be something to look out for much warmer weather in the summertime. Now, WWE has reportedly reached out to Hall of Famer Antonio Inoki as well as Hiroshi Hase about the political situation regarding or surrounding the new Performance Center in Japan. Hase, a semi-retired pro wrestler who once held the WCW International World Heavyweight title, he was named the Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe back in 2015. Now, the report did not mention if there would be an NXT Japan brand to go with that new Japan Performance Center, but that has been rumored for some time now. That would join with the Performance Center put in Orlando, Florida, back in the original one back in 2013, and then adding on to that last year, the Performance Center over in the UK. So that would make that the third one. So we'll see. WWE certainly globalizing and doing everything that they can to in different facets of the world. Now, as far as here stateside, well, we may be a little bit closer to getting an idea of that big network development that Vince McMahon was talking about on the conference call a couple of weeks ago, as they're reportedly having talks with ESPN. Yeah. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reporting that the talks would be in regards to WWE content airing on the ESPN Plus service. Now, the deal is that the WWE is likely trying to broker would be similar to the deal that UFC has with ESPN, where WWE would sell their rights to air pay-per-views, and that would pay more money than for the content than WWE would make on its own by selling the content directly to viewers with the WWE network. So how that'll affect the whole $9.99 thing, that is up in the air. That remains to be seen. But we'll see here. Now, the ESPN Plus model with UFC is reportedly what opened WWE's eyes to the idea. And that ESPN Plus deal could potentially bring more mainstream exposure to WWE's big events and their biggest superstars. As ESPN, they've proved that when they own rights to a product, they use their various shows to heavily market that product. So expect a lot of crossover if this were to occur on shows like SportsCenter. Although, as an aside, I don't know. I can't tell you the last time I watched SportsCenter. So I mean, I would imagine that there's still a pretty good market for it, but I don't know. I think, at least last I checked, most of these shows on ESPN were, I don't know, mostly various yelling back and forth debate shows. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but... Oh, okay, there aren't nearly as many as I had thought. Okay, yeah, Around the Horn's still around. Pardon the Interruption's still around. But, yeah, everything else is more, I guess, yeah, SportsCenter's about all you got, because I don't really think there'd be a whole lot of WWE on, say, Baseball Tonight, or or NBA Countdown, or NFL Live. Yeah, I don't think any of those are necessarily going to occur, But, yeah, you could see it on the debate shows, maybe. You could definitely see some SportsCenter crossover if that were to occur. Don't think, though, that you'd be seeing them talking Monday Night Raw on Monday Night Football. That's that's probably not happening, though. Anyway, ESPN, yeah, there's no word yet as far as how far the talks have gone, but the Observer noted that it looks like the deal has not been agreed on as of this week. Now, the other company, the company has been talking with other potential partners as well, which would include DAZN and NBC's Peacock service. Now, the belief was that NBC's Peacock service, set to launch later this year, would be the best bet for WWE, and TV industry resources recently telling the Observer that Peacock would look at WWE to be its key initial programming to draw subscribers from the launch moving forward, similar to how ESPN Plus did with UFC. So it's like, yeah, you got all this NBC content, but WWE, hey, this is where you got to go for this. So buy Peacock, and you can get all the other fun stuff to go with it. I don't know. Personally, if they open the vault and show some old episodes of Concentration, then shut up and take my money. But I don't know if they're going to necessarily do that. They've kind of kept that under lock and key for some reason. But I know that I'm a very, 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 very niche group of people who would concern themselves with that. Back to it here. TV industry sources recently reporting, that with such a deal, one of these larger streaming services, WWE would be able to get significantly guaranteed money for their big money events instead of being forced to rely on declining subscription money from the WWE network. So kind of focusing on, all right, what do we do since people are not investing as much into the WWE network anymore? And well, we've seen over the last few weeks that hasn't exactly been great for the WWE stock. Although I believe they had a little bit of a rebound this week. I'm quickly pulling that up as well. The old spinny thing on the computer here. Well, we'll go ahead and give the the computer the chance to load up here while we take care of our second time out and come back and look into a lot of other things, including that WWE superstar who may have some heat with WWE officials thanks to a recent gig, and another superstar out with an injury, and, well, a former star from a lot of different companies, kind of incognito but not really in the crowd, and we'll see what, if anything, that means for going forward. So all that and a whole bunch more here on Pro Wrestling Weekly on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Lee Piccarello, inviting you to tune in every Friday morning at 8 a.m. to The Head Game, a must-listen show for athletes and coaches of all levels and ages. Mindful Athlete Training in Newtown, Pennsylvania is a mental circuit training program that prepares the athletes to perform at the highest level of today's game. Athletes get into the zone faster and stay there longer. Tune in every Friday morning at 8 a.m. right here on WBCB 1490 AM and throughout the world at WBCB1490.com.
Hi, everyone. Al Roker here. As a guy with his own catchphrase, I appreciate that after 75 years, Smokey's only said,
"Only you can prevent wildfires."
But I'm filling in because there's a lot more to report. Like when it's dry or windy. Be careful burning yard waste, because wildfires can even start in your neck of the woods. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Here's another What's It Worth Antique Minute. Ever wonder how the 21-gun salute originated? The 21-gun salute is a tradition often used at military and law enforcement funerals where 7 rifles each fire 3 blanks for a 21-gun salute. But gun salutes have been used by many different countries in many different formats for centuries. Why 21 guns for the United States and not 20 or 22? One theory has it that shortly after the founding of our country in 1776, someone realized that when you add the 4 numbers in 1776 together, 1 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6, you get 21. Thus, the 21-gun salute was recommended as a tribute to the year our country was founded, and it's been a U.S. tradition ever since. What's it worth? Back in 2014, Heritage Auctions sold a 1776 Continental Currency dollar for $1.41 million. Auctioneer, appraiser, and home downsizing expert Mike Ivakovich hosts What's It Worth? Ask Mike the Appraiser radio show. And you can tune in on Friday mornings from 9 to 10 on WBCB 1490 or on the internet at WBCB1490.com.
Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, February 22. On this date in 1993, WWF Monday Night Raw aired live from New York City. In the main event, The Undertaker defeated Skinner. Of note, the match ran longer than the allotted television time, so the result of the match was given the following week. On this date in 1997, ECW held its SiberSlam 97 Supercard. In the main event, Sabu pinned Chris Candido. On this date in 1998, WCW held its Super Brawl 8 pay-per-view. In the main event, Sting pinned Hollywood Hogan to win the vacant WCW World Heavyweight Championship. This has been Today in Wrestling History, February 22.
Hi, this is Jim Cornette, and you're listening to Pro Wrestling Weekly with Fearon Derry on 1490 WBCB.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, flying solo. No word from Twitch as of yet, and I don't think we're going to hear from him. Maybe he overslept. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened. Although, in fairness, yeah, it happened to me once, but that's because, long time awake without any sleep. And that sometimes does tend to happen. So, other news and things to get into here. Well, let's go ahead and get into the gridiron a little bit as we'll take a look at how things were for Week 2 of...
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the XFL!
Well, Week 2 didn't go over as well as Week 1 in terms of viewership, but I think everybody was pretty much expecting that. The first week of games averaged 3.118 million viewers, and this week it averaged just over 2 million viewers. Now, granted, one of the games was on FS1 as opposed to ESPN or Fox or ABC, but still... will this be a rebound, or will there be a recovery, or is history about to repeat itself and it's going to continue to go downward? Now, if the latter is true, then the XFL is possibly going double or nothing, as there's already been talk of expanding the number of teams for 2021, and one of them includes right here in Philadelphia. I feel like I have to wait for a cheap pop just like Mick Foley every time I say right here in, and give the local town a mention. Now, PHL Sports Nation tweeting that Philadelphia has registered a domain name for the XFL and could be getting a team as early as next season. Now, the story also mentions, or the tweet I should say, that possible home field locations for the team could be Franklin Field, Citizens Bank Park, or Lincoln Financial Field. I'm hoping it's either Franklin Field or Lincoln Financial. I think we learned our lesson from the crossover of a ballpark with Veterans Stadium back in the day, where it was a dual-purpose baseball and football stadium. I think that the design for Citizens Bank Park was meant exclusively for baseball or the occasional concert, but I think crossing over and having another sport on that field might be a bit much. But on the other hand, if they want a little bit more money, that could be something that they possibly do. As we all know when it comes to a lot of things in life.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money.
So who knows? Maybe if Citizens Bank Park says, hey, this means we can use our stadium in the winter and make more money, all the better. But time will certainly tell on that. Now, a promising note, despite the average home viewership dropping 34%, in-stadium attendance increased almost 10%. And I think a lot of that, though, was due to Seattle's first home game, as Seattle has a very passionate fan base, whether it's the Seahawks, whether it's here in the XFL, whether it's the Seattle Sounders, the Major League Soccer team. I don't know. Seattle represents, and I don't know if they necessarily get enough credit for it. So props to you out there, Seattle. Maybe one of these days I'll be able to get out there to the west. Anyway, by comparison, as far as those TV watchers, the original XFL from 19 years ago saw a fall of 52% from week 1 to week 2. And last year's AAF, the Alliance for American Football, they saw a steeper drop in TV ratings of 65% from the first to second week. But in fairness to the AAF, they aired on CBS in the first week, and then for week 2 were split between TNT and the NFL Network. So they went from network to cable, and that would explain the steep drop and why they didn't even make it a full season necessarily. So, well, while we're talking ratings and things, let's get into the Wednesday Night Wars Week 21. That went to AEW. Numbers up for both companies, though, compared to last week. AEW with 893,000 viewers, up from the 817,000 from last week, so that's about 76,000 up. NXT had an increase as well, bumped up from the 757,000 of last week to 794,000 this week, so that's about a 37,000 increase. Now, that means by throwing all those numbers together that almost 100,000 more people watched Dynamite than NXT this week. And the lovable demographic, the 18 to 49, AEW finishing 5th overall, whereas NXT finished 16th in that same category. And AEW up overall in the head-to-head battle, 16 to 4 with that one tie. Oh, that one tie. So this will be interesting as Samoa Joe currently out of action with another injury. Yes, the Raw superstar reportedly suffered the injury while filming a WWE commercial last week, according to Pro Wrestling Sheet. The injury came as Joe hit his head during a bad table break. Now, there's no word yet on when Joe will be medically cleared to get back in the ring or the specifics of the injury, but it was noted that he could be out of action for a considerable amount of time. That usually leads me to think concussion, but, well, again, they didn't get to the specifics. They went hockey on it. They just said a head injury, or an upper body injury, I guess would probably be even, that would be more hockey. If you got injured in the head, the arm, the chest, it's all an upper body injury. They kind of keep things very close to the vest when it comes to injury reports. I think a lot of other sports could certainly learn from that. Could you imagine if with this thing with Cody, if instead of saying that he broke his right toe, if he just said suffered a lower body injury doing after that moonsault from the cage? I mean, that could throw off MJF. It could be a hip, it could be a knee, it could be an ankle. It doesn't give as honed in of a target to be able to focus. I mean, football's the same way. They mention people being, I guess, probable or doubtful or anything of that nature, but you still have an idea of where the injuries are. And I guess in football, it's so brutal that you don't really have the ability to concentrate on a particular body part. But if it's like a rib or something, you may get an extra dig of the shoulder into the rib cage there. I mean, there are certainly possibilities for that. But yes, Joe, he had just recently returned to action after suffering a broken thumb in late 2019 and then suffered a reported concussion that briefly took him back out of the ring. He did wrestle on last week's Raw and then suffered the head injury during the commercial shoot. Oh no, I guess that means Samoa Joe might have to go back to the commentary table. Oh, horrors. Yeah, the sarcasm was pretty thick on that one. Samoa Joe's really good at commentary, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. Also, a blink if you missed it type scenario, although thankfully social media was right on top of it. Former WWE, ECW, WCW, and TNA star Raven was sitting in the crowd for this past Wednesday's AEW Dynamite episode from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta. He could be seen on TV a few times during the Tag Team Battle Royal, but he was not acknowledged by the AEW announcers and did not appear to be in character at all. Though AEW did have some fun with Raven's appearance and joked about him being involved with the Dark Order as he was sitting near members of the group, including the Exalted One, and did not move while the action unfolded next to him. So that kind of made his presence a little more obvious. Raven can be seen in a clip that was tweeted from the official AEW Twitter account, and AEW wrote in the caption, quote, "Did you see it? The Exalted One is always watching," end quote. Now, Raven does live in Atlanta and is good friends with Diamond Dallas Page, so it's possible that he was just visiting, or maybe it's planting a seed for something down the road. It's hard to say, although Raven has not appeared for a major promotion since his last TNA appearances in 2010. That would be a decade ago. Even I could do that math. And, well, I don't know if he'd necessarily be in an in-ring capacity at this point, as... again, working on the math here, Raven is 55 currently. So, doubtful, we'll put it at that. Crazy to think, though, it's been over 30 years ago since his wrestling debut. Plus, he was trained by Larry Sharp over at the Monster Factory, so shameless plug for that. Yep, that's where I'll be commentating tonight, the MF Cup. Including, well, somebody you may have seen recently on AEW, QT Marshall, part of AEW Dark and a good friend with Cody down there in the Atlanta area and former coach at the Monster Factory. He's coming back to wrestle for the Cup. Shaheem Ali as well as LSG from Ring of Honor, they're going to be in for this. So there's some pretty good star power here. Some names from the past that are coming back to their roots here to compete for the Cup. So I'll be commentating that, looking forward to that, heading on down to the Monster Factory in Paulsboro pretty much right after the show's over here. Kind of catch up with some of the old friends and whatnot. Although, don't get your hopes up. No, I can confirm there won't, Matt Riddle won't be there, Damian Priest, they have NXT going on. So they're a little too up there in the big time. They're sipping their cup of coffee in the big time, as Randy Savage would say. So they're cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. So they're not coming back, but there are some others, AEW, and they're okay with them making their way back here at least for the weekend. And one other tidbit here, if you'll excuse me for a moment on this one, Vicky Guerrero. She apparently has some heat with WWE officials due to her recent gig with AEW. It's very much like a lot of things in life. If you're not with us, you're against us. What those things are, I'm totally just leaving that open-ended because Ted is sitting right here with me. He's getting ready for Country Roads coming up in about 7 minutes or so. So I didn't say anything bad to my knowledge, although as soon as Nutsy hits, if I did say something, I would be the first to hear about it. Okay, there's a chuckle, which tug at the collar on that a little bit. But yes, Vicky had worked back in December the pre-Dynamite AEW Dark tapings in Garland, Texas, calling the action as a guest commentator with Excalibur and Joey Janela. Now, the episode aired the following Tuesday night on AEW's YouTube channel, and she had revealed on her Excuse Me podcast with guest David Benoit that WWE cut communication with her when they found out about the AEW gig. Fickle and petty they are. Vicky had previously asked WWE if she could interview some of their superstars for her show, and everything seemed to be working out until they found out about that AEW Dark episode. Vicky also said WWE officials refused to talk to her and are no longer replying to her emails. Yeah, Richard move, WWE. Richard move. But she said on Excuse Me, quote, "I have the podcast now and I asked to interview some superstars for my podcast and they found out I went to AEW and now they don't even talk to me. They didn't call me for 2 years. I haven't heard from them. What did they expect me to do? Just to sit here and wait for them to call so I could do some work? I love wrestling. I love to work in the ring. And if someone is going to give me an opportunity to go and show up and have some fun, then I should be able to because I'm not obligated to anybody. I saw that I wet in their Cheerios, so be it. It changed it up there because, again, Ted's right here. But
Very good.
yes, tinkled in their Cheerios. That's another way to go. The old match game, tinkle and wet were the two words that you were allowed to use instead of something else. They're very clever back then in the 70s. Now, no word if AEW has interest in using Vicky in the future, but she lives in the Garland, Texas area, and that's likely why she was used that night for the dark tapings. Now, it remains to be seen also if WWE will bring her back in the future. She left WWE back in 2014, made a few appearances 2 years later. She was a surprise entrant in the 2018 Women's Royal Rumble match, and later made a special appearance at the SmackDown 1000 special in October of 2018. Man, that was already almost a year and a half ago now, 1000th episode of SmackDown. So that's going to just about do it for this week. We got a few minutes left, so that means it's time for...
Birthday!
Wow, that was from the back of the throat, that one. Yeah, that was projected there. Microphone, schmicrophone, who needs it? On this date in No, okay, maybe not. On this date in 1967, Juan Ibodio Gonzalez was born. The AAA wrestler and luchador, known as Psychosis 2, because the original Psychosis was wrestling full-time in WCW, so they had to come up with another person to don the mask. Well, he turns 53 today. And the other, in this date in 1971, staying south of the border with Rafael Garcia, having been born on that date. The longtime mainstay of AAA, but probably best known for his stint in WCW in the 1990s as Super Calo, turns 49 today. Cup of coffee in WCW is big time as part of the luchadors and cruiserweights and everything of that nature. Now to 5 Brucey bonuses, things outside of the world of wrestling. Now, this one, I normally don't like to reference those who have already passed on in the birthday segment, but this one I think is special because this is the person who warranted the name Brucey Bonus. On this date in 1928, Sir Bruce Joseph Forsyth Johnson was born. The longtime British presenter and entertainer known for hosting game shows The Price is Right over in England, as well as here in the States, Bruce Forsyth's Hot Streak back in 1986, and back over in England, Play Your Cards Right, which was the origin of the name Brucey Bonus, as that was a prize at that. Yeah, Play Your Cards Right. It was kind of like Card Sharks, guessing, higher or lower the next card, that sort of thing. Well, Bruce had a career of over 70 years, but passed away in the summer of 2017 at the age of 89. Yeah, certainly legendary in game shows and everything else, and something that I borrowed from OSW Review. Got to give them credit as well. So I figure got to show some props to Bruce Forsyth on what would have been his 82nd or 92nd birthday, rather. I can carry the one there, Burgundy. All right. On this date in 1950, now to those who are still with us, Julius Winfield Irving II was born. The Hall of Fame basketball player, NBA and ABA champion, and legend for the then New York Nets, as well as the Philadelphia 76ers, nicknamed Dr. J. He turns 70 today. I know.
Feeling old.
Oh, you ain't kidding. On this date in 1951, Ellen Greene was born, the theater actress best known for her role on stage and screen as Audrey from the horror comedy musical Little Shop of Horrors. She turned 69 today. Orin Scrivillo, DDF. Oh, man. On this date in 1964, Edward John Boone was born, the video game programmer known for his time at Midway Games and co-creator of the widely popular Mortal Kombat series. In fact, his name was the basis for one of the characters in the game Noob Saibot, which is the creators Boone and John Tobias' names spelled backwards. But yes, Ed Boone, he turns 56 today. And lastly, this is a name that'll definitely ring a bell or two. On this date in 1975, Drew Blythe Barrymore was born. Yeah, the actress, producer, director, among many other things, known for movies including her debut in E.T. the Extraterrestrial. She was just 7 years old. Scream, Charlie's Angels, Donnie Darko, and one of my favorites, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Yeah, among many others. That was the Chuck Barris movie. Yeah, Sam Rockwell and who else was in there? George Clooney. Yeah, Julia Roberts is in that as well. But yeah, Drew Barrymore turns 45 today, and Nutsy time.
1 o'clock and all's well.
Serving you better than ever before. This is 1490 WBC.